Okay, so next subject is a script to transfer the CloudSlang test from CloudSlang Builder test suites to ALM by Andreea Puscas, Sorin Moldovan, and Alexandru Duma. Are you ready?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so feel free to present.
Okay. Please let me know when you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay. So, hi everyone, my name is Sorin, and today I'll be presenting basically what it started from a script to a flow, which will transfer all the tests needed from CloudSlang Builder, where we have a test suite for each operation or a flow, and make sure that the behavior is what we want from the inputs and expected in the outputs. And since CloudSlang is growing through a lot of changes, one of the changes was having tests done in TestNG and having them tracked in ALM, which if we start to do it manually, it will take a lot of time, and this process will make everything much easier, and it will save up everyone as much time as possible in order to have time to focus on other tasks. So at the moment, here is the a CloudSlang test file looks, which we've made a flow in order to read from each file, to have a name, a description with all the inputs, and have it transfer, as well as create a CSV file for TestNG and Tau, and also have it tracked in ALM. That's why, like I told you, we needed to make a flow that eases the process, because for each operation there are at least 5 or 10 tests, and having them transferred through Tau and TestNG and tracked in ALM, it would take around, who knows, 5, 10 or 20 minutes, and why not have that done in 1 or maximum 2, depends on the connection to the ALM server, and the CSV file will be created locally, which then can be imported in TestNG. For that, we have the first part that it extracts the information from the YAML file, which you can set a path to, and it creates over here 2 CSV files, one that will be populating the Excel file, and one for TestNG.
Sorry for interrupting. Sorin, yeah. Can you put it on full screen?
Oh, okay. Wait. Okay, over here. Is it better now?
Yeah, great.
Okay. So, like I've said, this part reads from the file that we provide. Let's say, for example, in this case, we'll use append.inputs.yaml, and it will populate all in the CSV file or the required fields for TestNG Tau and ALM. First, we wanted to do the integration with using CloudSlang operations and flows, but it would have taken way too much time, and we've already seen that there is an integration in O with it, so we decided to use that. There were some issues with trying to make it work, because the labels and other features have changed in ALM, and we had to use all the bits and make it work in order to have it populate correctly in the ALM folder structure, and have all the tests with the description, the username, created, what type, and you will see in the next presentation or in the demo how it all ends up. So here are the CSV files that are created for Tau and TestNG, and afterwards there will be an Excel file that will be used with import test from Excel file from ALM integration. Over here you have the first, in order to put the test in a certain folder. Let's say you will use from a base WS content also base, which has a parent ID that I will show you. We first have to create a test folder in which to include all the tests that will be read from the inputs.yaml file. Let's say for append.inputs.yaml, and if there are 5 tests, all those 5 tests will be added to base append operation, let's say, for example. And since, like I've said, there are a lot of tests, which is a mirror to the content in CloudSlang content, doing it like this will take way less time than rather than doing it manually. This step will add the columns with ALM data to the Excel file from the CSV that we have created. And we've made sure to have as many columns that are needed in order to create a full test with all the data necessary. Here is the Excel file that we have created using the CSV and in the required fields. Of course, there will be improvements to how it will be displayed, and I will show you in the ALM site. But so far, from what we've done, we've managed to make a full test, let's say for one test in the test folder, to have everything included and not having us doing, like I've said, everything manually. This is the complete flow that does reading, creating the operations test folder, because we have to add this step first, otherwise we won't be able to populate the Excel file to know where to place the test. And then after we have the CSV files needed for test ng tau, we populate the Excel file, which then connects to the ALM server, creates a session, imports the test, and if everything goes successfully, it will end up as it should. And later on, if you have any other questions, I will gladly answer them. So, for example, we have append inputs.yaml, which, as you've seen, has a lot of tests, 5, and our flow will strip this part out because it won't be needed, and it will take the name of the test for tracking and for tau, and we'll add this name with all the descriptions and all the information needed. And afterwards, it will create the CSV file needed, the Excel file for ALM, and end up importing it. Let me show you. Okay, so here's the demo. From what you can see over here in WS content in base, a folder will be created that will include all the tests that will be read from the inputs.yaml file, and in these folders, in this folder, all the files needed will be present in order to take them and import them in test ng and tau. And besides having the track of all the tests that I have done, in a future enhancement, there will be also a folder over here to have everything that you have tested and taken from CloudSlang content tests over here for ease of access and to know where you've left off, let's say, yesterday. Okay, let me run the flow. Okay, over here, the issue with this failure didn't mean that the flow wasn't completed successfully. It's just that it reads from the Excel file a couple of lines more. So let me just refresh this. Okay, content base. As you can see, the operation for the append was created with the following tests, which will be easier to track. Like I've said over here, we'll have a more pretty print, let's say, for the whole description. It will add the owner, since release, and all the fields that, like I've said, will be needed. And afterwards, a global ID will be generated in about 1 minute or 2. That was not needed because it's auto-generated. And afterwards, you have over here the files that we'll use for testng, and the Excel file that we use to add all the tests needed to ALM. Okay, and later on, let's say you have here is just one file, but if we have in base, let's say strings, and we have a couple of test files, an improvement would be to read from each one of them and add the required tests in and create them for Tau, for testng, and for ALM, which I'm sure would even speed up more the process of having everything and all the tests that we have done and will do in CloudSlang for the CloudSlang builder to make sure that nothing breaks, to have them passed as a tracker in ALM and testng to make sure that everything is covered and nothing goes wrong. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Okay, no questions? Because we're already exceeding time.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you, Sorin.